What's up, family? I'm Pastor Williams, and welcome to Breaktime. Today's scriptural focus comes from 1 Kings 19, 1 through 15. In this Old Testament story, Elijah the prophet is running from the wrath of the evil Queen Jezebel. Elijah has made her angry by having a contest with the priest of Baal and then doing away with them. Queen Jezebel threatened revenge upon Elijah if she could catch him. And upon hearing this, Elijah flees and runs into the woods, into the wilderness. While there, God hooks Elijah up with food and water and begins to speak to him through the world and nature that surrounds him. At a glance, it appears that this text is all about fear. Elijah runs because he's fearful of Jezebel. However, a closer look shows us that this text is more than just fear. This text is about a feeling of loneliness. This is what I want to highlight today, the feeling of loneliness and how we can conquer it. Elijah has just come out of an experience where he relied on God and God showed up and performed mightily for him. However, now he is dealing with a queen who has threatened to take his life. One moment he was up and the next moment he was down. One moment he was the man and the next moment he was being attacked. Life ebbs and flows like this. There are high and low moments. And often in those low moments, we feel lonely, frustrated by what is happening in our lives. We feel like we are by ourselves and no one can understand what we are going through. Elijah has a moment with God and tells God all that he had done to bring about righteousness in the land of Israel, despite the idolatry that Jezebel and Ahab had instituted in the land. He says, I alone am left, and they are seeking my life to take it away. Like some of us, Elijah's feelings of loneliness caused him to retreat and flee to the wilderness and later a cave because he felt no one else would support him or help him. Loneliness, family, is a serious issue in our time. The Huffington Post reports that our time has been called the age of loneliness. It is estimated that 1 in 5 Americans suffer from persistent loneliness. And while we're more connected than ever before, social media may actually be exacerbating the problem. Loneliness isn't about being alone, it's about not feeling connected. But there's nothing trivial or comical or poignantly romantic about loneliness. What has emerged is the notion that loneliness is an aversive signal whose purpose is to motivate us to reconnect. But over time, if it's not addressed, loneliness can contribute to generalized morbidity and mortality. Loneliness is far more than a social misfortune. It is a significant problem of health and happiness that is distinct from, but contributes to the likelihood of depression. What we see in this text is a frustrated leader/individual whose feelings of loneliness are causing him to undermine social connection. Elijah needed God's assurance that God would care for Elijah even in the midst of the threat that Jezebel had uttered against him. Millions of people are predisposed to undermine social connection, and people from all walks of life experience loneliness. Whether you believe it or not, there are married people who feel lonely. There are people in bustling corporate offices with high-paying jobs who, when they close their door and are by themselves, feel lonely. There are young college students on campuses with thousands of other students, but they are lonely. There are young children in a house full of people who close their door each evening and feel lonely. Talent, financial success, fame, even adoration offers no protection from the subjective experience. And this is what Elijah realizes. His fame and past experience did not offer him protection from feeling lonely. God asked Elijah in the biblical text twice, "Why are you here?" Elijah responds, and God listened to his lament and understood that he needed to feel cared by God. He needed to be the feeling of being cared for by God. He needed to know that God knew that what he was going through. Various things take place around Elijah in the biblical text. Fierce winds blow, earthquakes and fire. But the Bible says that the Lord was in none of that. Elijah did not hear God's voice until there was sheer silence. That suggests to us, family, that in our moments of loneliness and quietness, God still speaks. In verse 18b, God tells him that there are people who will support you. You are not alone. Sure enough, as he went down the road toward Damascus, he met the one who would be his helper, the prophet Elisha. Here's something interesting that psychologists have found out about loneliness. It is hypothesized that the feeling of loneliness may have adaptive value, both for humans and for other animals, because it prompted a realization that one has strayed from the social community. Like hunger and pain, loneliness is part of a biological warning system to enhance our chances of survival and reproduction. Studies suggest that loneliness provides a motivation to reconnect with others who may help to protect us from predators or provide other survival benefits. I challenge you, rather than looking at loneliness from a negative perspective, look at it as an internal warning system God has placed in us to remind us that we have strayed from community and social connection. We all go through times of loneliness and despair. Perhaps it is because of our ill health or due to circumstances that are beyond our control. And we think that no one cares or understands what we are enduring. We may even think that God does not care for us because we have not recognized God around us in a long time. We may think that God may speak through some dramatic event in our lives, and we may expect it to happen in a thunderstorm as the lightning flashes or when the skies are threatening. Those circumstances could speak to us, but more often, God speaks to us in the quiet moments of life when we have the time to really listen for God's voice. In the words of Michael Jackson, you are not alone. If you're feeling alone and lonely, take it as a sign that you need to connect. Don't be ashamed to seek counseling to help you overcome those fears associated with connecting to people and communities. Don't let your loneliness morph into depression. Like God told Elijah, there are some people who will help you. You just have to get out of the cave. Let today, family, be the day you conquer loneliness by exiting the cave that you have retreated to and connect to the Elishas who are willing to assist you. Grace and peace. Remember to subscribe to our page, leave a comment, and forward this message to a friend. Until next time, I'm Pastor Williams. Peace and blessings.